In this video, we're going to talk about 1.3 Objective 5, where we determine whether a survey or sample is biased. Let's look at question 1. Let's determine if the survey question is biased, and if the question is biased, suggest a better wording. So the question is phrased as, why is eating potato chips bad for you? It implies that the answer is that they are bad for you, so it is a biased question. So how would we be able to rephrase that? The question is biased. The wording is, how do you think eating potato chips affects your health? Would be better because it doesn't imply the response that yes, it they're already bad the way that and do bad things. That's the way the question is phrased, is you're meant to take that bias from the question. So now let's look at number 2, determine if the survey question is biased. If the question is biased, suggest better wording. How often do you go out walking during an average month? No, that's not a biased question. It does not lead the respondent to any particular answer. So that's A. It's a good example of a question. Determine whether the survey question is biased, and if the question is biased, suggest better wording. How does the media influence the opinions of voters? The question is biased because it already suggests that the media influences the opinion of voters. The question could better be written as, does the media influence the opinion of voters? If so, how? So that would be D. Let's look at 4, and this is our last question here for this chapter. 2 types of survey questions are open questions and closed questions. An open question allows for any kind of response. A closed question allows for only a fixed response, like a yes, no, true, false type response, or multiple choice. Select one of the choices that I've given you. An open question and closed question with its possible choices are given below. List the advantages and disadvantages of each question. So an open question would be something like, what can be done to get students to eat healthier foods? And it's a free response question where everyone can give their answers. A closed question would be something like, how would you get students to eat healthier foods? And then 3 options were given there of a mandatory nutrition course, offer only healthy foods in the cafeteria and remove unhealthy foods, or offer more healthy foods in the cafeteria and raise the prices on unhealthy foods. And you would assume that someone has to choose one of those 3 options there. So let's look at advantages of the open-ended question. An open-ended question allows for new solutions to be introduced that are not ideas that you've thought of. Also, an open-ended question allows for the responder to go in depth with their answer. It also lets them propose more than one solution, right? Even though you ask them one question in a, check only one box situation, you may want to do more than one of these 3 things, right? So what are some disadvantages for an open-ended question? So the form of the question may influence the opinion of the respondent is one thing, and how such questions are phrased. It's difficult to quantify the responses of open-ended questions. You can't just say a certain percentage answered this way or whatever way that's really hard to summarize the data. It's difficult to compare the results of surveys with open-ended questions because you're not asking, you're getting different responses from every group. So you can't say this group over here had this percentage response, liked option 1, whereas this group over here favored option 2, that sort of a thing. And what are some advantages to a closed question? So kind of the opposites here of the negatives of the open-ended question. So with a closed question, it is easy to quantify and compare the results of surveys with a closed question. And it is possible to automate the collection of results for closed questions. So you could use something like a Google form or a SurveyMonkey, survey, or any of those tools that you've seen people use where they just use a QR code or they use a link that they share and they ask people to respond that way and things like that. You can get automated analytics and things that break down and sometimes can even collect some other information for you about the users, depending on what platform you're using and how the people register for that platform. So let's see, those were the advantages. What are the disadvantages of a closed question? So closed questions may not provide appropriate alternative responses, and the form of the question may influence the opinion of the respondent. So the form of the question is always something that we need to consider, whether it's open or closed questioning. You'll hear this called an open-ended question or a closed-ended question sometimes as well. So that's it for this. And we will come back next time and talk about 2.1 Objective 1. We'll see you for the next video.